We are now recording. Good evening, everybody. This is Sparks Johnson. I am here with the famous Dr. Gary Lindner, PhD, out of Clemson, right?
Yeah.
I believe this is the first one of the self-care query. Don't say that one wrong. And we have a few questions. So Gary, I'll open it up to you for. Well, first of all, thanks for doing this.
Sure. Thank you, Sparks.
And I know that you're busy. And number two, why don't you open us up with a. Why don't you? I'm sorry, I was reading chat. Why don't you go ahead and open us up with a general statement? Then we'll get to our first question.
Okay, that's fine. This is a new part of the series, self-care queries. It's actually was designed for people to send in questions about self-care, how you might engage conversations along those lines. I also opened it up for people with any questions about products or the technology. So I received a lot of response from the field, and I'm very happy about that because that really lets me know that this is a engaging subject for you all. You want to know more about it. So other than that, Sparks, why don't you just start with the questions, and we'll just, kind of you and I talk about it, and that's pretty much the format for this evening. So we're going to have some fun. Maybe we'll learn a few things. Maybe I'll learn a few things. So I'm excited.
Or possible, you might. I just want to open this up with kind of a personal thing, because I was talking to a friend the other day, and that friend said, well, both my wife and I, we exercise, we're pretty active, and we eat pretty well. So what is self-care? How's that going to really help us? And so I know what my answer was to them, but Gary, what would be your answer?
That's a great question to start with, and let me answer that this way, because let me I'm going to go around Robin Hood's barn to get there, okay? And bear with me, because really we've got a huge problem, and that problem, not just in the US but globally, is chronic disease. All right, I mean, it is our biggest killer. 70% of all deaths. It's our biggest expense. We spend 86% of our healthcare dollar treating and managing chronic disease, and I could go on. And in many parts of the series I expound on that even more. But I think given that problem, we have even a greater problem. And that problem is that we've pretty much been told, or brainwashed, if you will, that chronic disease is a normal part of life. And we need to change that paradigm. And when people understand that it is not, I mean, how many times, Sparks, you can respond to this when you're having a chat with somebody, even a friend or a family member, and we're talking about an issue they may be dealing with, and their response is, well, that's just part of life. That's just part of getting older. Does that happen?
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
I'm sorry, I'm reading questions in the question window.
Focus, Sparks.
Focus.
Okay.
Focus.
But laser focus, man. So now, here's the thing. They respond that way because that's what they've been told. Mm-hmm. And a good example of that is the commercial that you and I talk about in our first 4-minute introduction to self-care, that comes from a corner drugstore, which used to be, which now calls itself a wellness center. And I'm just going to repeat it. I'm going to quote it. It says there are 26 million diabetics in the U.S., 54 million at risk. Don't worry. I'm going to emphasize that. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We can treat and manage your diabetes so you can lead a normal, productive life. Now, if that isn't pretty much telling anybody listening, regardless of their age or their status of health, that it's okay if you have diabetes and you shouldn't worry about it, I think that's a wrong message. And I think that is integral to this idea that we have that chronic disease is a normal part of life. So the series, the Self-Care Awakening, was designed to make people aware of that. That it is also designed to make them aware that there are other things that we can do that don't involve lifestyle changes to be healthy. So with your friends who exercise, who watch what they eat, watch the weight, they're asking, why should we pay attention to this? My first response to that would be, diet and exercise have been empirically proven to not be as important as sleep quality when it comes to longevity and health. I mean, it really has. So how are you sleeping at night? I would also talk to them about hydration. I would also talk to them about air quality. I would talk about all the different areas that we talk about in self-care. And you can lead the healthiest lifestyle you want, but if you're still putting toxins in your body, in other words, increasing that pollution in people, if you will, the body burden, it's going to take its toll sooner or later. And I say that with, just total belief, with no equivocation, because it's really much been proven, and drawing correlations, through research and science, to that body burden or that pollution that we sequester in the amount of environmental toxins and the expression of many different chronic diseases. So even though we're exercising, even though we're eating right, there's lots of other things I think we need to pay attention to. So I'm sure you probably had a very similar conversation with them.
Well, yeah, and that brings up another good question, because at BNI today, I was timekeeper, so I took a little extra few seconds, and I kind of ranted about the diabetes commercial that we've been mentioned a few times, and it's just the concept that life with some health abnormality normal is just maddening to me.
It is. It's insane. I think it's a social insanity for us to think that. And I spend every bit of my energy and time trying to, dispel that myth, if you will, through this process we call self-care, which is becoming aware of and then making choices for a healthier life, and showing people pretty simple ways to do it. So that's
effective ways, simple and effective.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
let's move on, Gary, so we don't run out of time.
Sure.
This is from Gina Wilkerson, and I'm just going to read this so I don't blow this.
Okay.
How do you feel we can make the case with clients, with all the other products on the market, that ours is the choice for them, that doctors would advocate, and let our customers understand that our Nikken representatives are highly knowledgeable, educated, certified about the company and the products, to offer them a solid, proven way to be healthy and not just trying to sell them something?
I'm making some notes here because that's a very long question.
That is long. That's why I wanted to read it.
Long-term memory isn't as good as their short-term isn't.
Well, basically, I guess how do we tell people that our products work?
I actually was joking. My memory is actually very good.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. There's a couple keywords in there, and one is, and I'll answer that this way. And Gina, thank you for the question. It's a very valid question, because I get asked all the time, will you talk to my doctor about Nikken for me? And I have many people on my team, I have many people out in the field that ask me to do that. My first question when somebody's asking me to do that is, what's their interest? Because really, if, none of us are here as self-care advocates or independent Nikken consultants, and this is an independent Nikken consultant presentation, and I want to let everybody know that, because we're going to be talking about the products and technologies as well. But anyways, none of us are there to convince anybody about anything. And when they're asking me to talk to their doctors, I ask them, well, why? And many times they say, because they have a lot of people that are hurting, and I want them to be able to help them. So again, that's kind of pointed towards treating. And we can neither treat nor, diagnose for people. Doctors obviously can, but doctors don't know about us. So the best way I know to get the interest of a medical professional, regardless of where they are in that healthcare field, is to tell them stories. All right, stay away from the technologies and tell a story. And actually next week we'll be doing How Self-Care Matters, and Sparks, you'll be running that show as well. And those type of stories, the ones that I would be telling them. When enough people are telling their physician, their healthcare professional, stories about how their lives have changed through using Nikken products, technologies, or becoming aware of certain things, that's through self-care and making changes in their lives, then they'll start to pay attention. I think almost every physician or healthcare professional I know that we have in the field with us, and there's quite a few, came to recognize and appreciate Niken through that pathway, to where either someone that was a patient or a family member or even themselves had an experience that made them healthier or feel better or not hurt as much anymore.
That's not a bad answer, dude.
Well, but it's the natural progression. It's the same way as it is for anybody else that's saying, wow, I feel better using these products and I like to share it with others. And then they have a passion to do so. And at the same time, we aren't intruding on their 10 years of college, their 2 years of residency, their huge bills for going through school and medical school,
and a nutritional course.
And a lot of times we get that fence between us, because what we're really trying to do is tell them how to treat and manage, and not in a way that they can comprehend or really understand before having something experiential. Now, the other thing there too is when I'm talking with somebody, I pretty much keep that conversation to the basics. I'm talking about water, I'm talking about air, I'm talking about sleep quality, I'm talking about some extra energy, I'm talking about nutrition or some weight management issues. And those conversations in themselves are 100% universal as far as people having some kind of interest there. When we start to get into a specific issue or a specific product, then we're really getting to the point where we're breaking the policy and procedures in our agreement that we signed with Niken to do. And I don't think any of us want to do that. I'm going to spend just one more second on this, and then we'll start going.
Yeah, it's time to move on.
Well, I was meeting with somebody on my team the other day, and I was doing a coaching session with them. And what they said to me, I said, so what is your approach with people and how do you engage conversations? And this is the way that they started it. When I see somebody that obviously needs our products, then I approach them. And I just kind of went, okay, let's talk about that for a second. Now, that person that obviously needs our product because they're displaying some kind of discomfort or whatever it might be, yes, they do. But does the person standing next to them need our products too?
Yes.
Do they drink water? Do they sleep? You see, and in that instance, in that mindset, and I'm not putting any blame here for anybody because we've been taught that since we were kids. If something hurts, put something on it.
Right.
We were taught to treat, not to prevent. And then we use that in the concept of what we're thinking about when we're talking about to people about Niken. But I'm going to throw this out there too, and I'm going to expand on this more in San Antonio, and I hope you're all there. Is that if we want to move forward, if we want to grow, if we all, as self-care advocates or Niken independent consultants here, want to see this company become the company it can be, we have to offer what we have to everybody, not just to people that have some type of health issue. So,
okay, I'm going to jump in
because I can get on a soapbox.
Yeah, well, I think you've been on it for a few minutes now.
Okay, well, thank you, Sparks. I appreciate your support.
Ken, and I'm just going to say Q, because if I even try this last name, it's not that hard, but Quinlan, Ken. So I'm going to say Ken Q. He's asking a question that's been on my mind. This is an excellent question. What minerals are infused in the waters through the rocks?
The minerals in
the rocks in the water.
Oh, in the waterfall. That's what you're asking. Okay. So excellent question, Quinn, and Ken. It's something that I get very frequently from people saying you're talking about minerals being in there, and of course it's the minerals that are added back that alter the acidity or alkalinity, that maintain that alkaline pH of about 8.5 to 9.5 in the waterfall, which is a very healthy water, by the way. And basically I posed that question some time ago to Niken Distributor Relations, and the response I got is that the minerals, and I'm going to read the response I got, and this is quote from Niken Distributor Relations: the minerals are re-added by the stones. They release trace amounts of calcium and magnesium into the water. Please note that these are trace amounts and cannot be measured. The information of other minerals released are proprietary. So they are actually, not divulging some information on the way our technologies work or the way that we make the water healthier. And I know probably nobody is happy with that response.
No, not at all.
I think we just have to say, all right, that's the answer to the question, and that's the answer to the question from the powers above, if you will. So
powers above. Okay, now was that for the rocks? Because there's another part, the all mysterious pie egg material that they.
Well, there is, and I'm sure that's the part that's proprietary that they don't want to talk about. Sparks.
All right. Yeah. All right. Okay, so I'm going to ask.
I just saw a chat that says better than none at all. Yeah, we try.
That's very true, Mary. That was a good point there. Okay, I'm just going to ask some general questions. I think these are more treatment involved. Platelets. Instructor recently revealed that she had some multiple sclerosis. So we have a question about multiple sclerosis. We also have a person, Carol Jensen has a customer with fibromyalgia.
Okay.
And I heard that Dr. Ash talked about fibromyalgia, and I have a future niece-in-law who has that same. And then Tiffany also writes that divicturil, you know what I'm saying there.
Diverticulitis.
Yeah, my wife just corrected me in the background. So I'm going to add those up. Those kind of treatments.
Diverticulitis.
Yeah, whatever it is. You know how good I am with long words.
Yeah.
So anyway, there are some treatments that, there's symptomatic and.
Okay. So, and I will say of all. Again, of the many questions you guys asked, many of them were along those lines. Here's this health issue. What we have, what we can to fix it. Mm-hmm. And I'll refer to my little soapbox before. One, those are questions that are excellent for Stump the Doc. Dr. Ash can answer those because she is a medical doctor. She's an osteopathic physician. I cannot. You cannot, all right, unless you're a doctor.
I'd be the last person.
Sparks cannot, because we're breaking policies and procedures if we do that. But I will address all of those issues just by asking a few simple questions, regardless of where anybody is on this staircase of health, from being super healthy to having maybe some severe problems. Do you think drinking good water, being properly hydrated throughout the day, breathing healthy air, sleeping good at night with good quality sleep, eating healthy whole food to fuel your body, and providing your body with some extra energy would be contraindicated for any of those issues? Absolutely not. Okay. They would be beneficial to the body because in the concept of self-care and in the concept of the Niken product and technologies, they're designed to do one simple thing, which is to provide our bodies with the things they need, provide them in a way that nature intended without adding to our toxic burden or the pollution in our bodies, so that our bodies can do the things that it wants to do, which is heal and protect itself or make a condition better. And I'll say this, right now, we talked about chronic disease and I mean, there's the list pretty much that you just read off of, Sparks, all those we could put in that.
Right.
It's, there's a lot of specific things for gut issues that we can deal with. I mean, the KBB would be excellent. The lactoferrin, the digestion, hydration is excellent for any of those type of things. I would say the same thing would go for any of the neurological problems that not so much nutritionally, but that would help too. Give your body some good nutrition. If we're looking at something that basically is an issue where you have very low energy, as was mentioned, and I won't mention the problem, because I can't. But if we're providing the body with other sources of energy from outside or externally to provide that person with more energy, are they going to feel better? And usually, in my experience with that issue, very much so. In fact, a very good friend of mine, a physician, is an advocate for self-care in our products and technologies because his wife suffered with that condition. And as he says, for 3 years, nothing I had in my medical bag helped her until, one of their friends, family members, I think, started to send them some components of the Nikan Wellness Home. And as he said, just to paraphrase, Sleeping Beauty became the Energizer Bunny again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in other words, it brings us back around to the human greenhouse and the
Right. Greenhouse for humans. Yep.
Yeah, because if you conceptualize it that way, then you can bring in the water, the sleep, all the different little things.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Sandra Mario asked
Merlot.
Merlot. Oh, I thought that was an I. Well, anyway, Sandra asked about metabolism. We talk about it with 10-4. What else is there to oh my gosh. What else is there to promote a better metabolism?
Metabolism. Okay.
Metabolism. And I'm going
you're going to
I'm going to jump in and say a simple answer may be greenzymes.
Greenzymes would be great. Okay, so let me put it this way, but let me put it in a broader conceptual way. Sleep, first thing that comes to me. I mean, there's some incredible studies from the University of Chicago. I read them a little bit ago. I can't quote them directly, showing basically if you have sleep deprivation, and this was in a group of adult men who ate the same diets and everything else, and they slept 8 hours a night. Their health was good, their metabolism was good, everything else. Then they restricted their sleep to, I think, half of that, 4 hours a night. And within a period, I think, of 2 weeks, every one of them were symptomatic of type 2 diabetes, right? So, because their ability to metabolize glucose was impaired just from sleep. You could probably Google and look that paper up. It was very fascinating to me. Let's talk about hydration. Just a small drop in hydration affects your metabolism. If we want to improve that metabolism, well, what about good air quality? So what is metabolism? Metabolism is the burning of fuel. And what do we burn it with? We burn it with oxygen. So if we're actually getting better oxygen through cleaner air and opening our air passages, that will improve your metabolism as well. So again, conceptually here, this is the way I'm answering this question. So if we want to look at specific individual things that we have, obviously the 10-4, the J greenzymes, KVB, and its thermogenic effect will increase basal metabolic rate. What else we have in there? We talked about 10-4. I'd say probably even put the paleo bars in there somewhat to have a good nutritional, digestible snack, rather than something that's heavy, too much carbohydrates, too much sugar, etc. So that's just a few things, but I would think of that issue it more in a conceptual basis, as I said, talking about air, water, sleep, whole foods.
So let me ask a question, because I see my buddy Rex is on. I know that he's thinking right now that beer would really help metabolism. Is that true?
No. It's contraindicated.
It'd be contraindicated. Okay.
And you always got to do something like that, Sparks. I can always count on you for that. That's why we have so much fun.
And that's Kathy Robinson asked. Let's see. How would you suggest we start a conversation with the person about self-care? And if they have an interest, what do you do next?
Okay. So this is a very interesting question. And I kind of talked about that in last week's presentation when I talked about self-care for finances. So here's the way I usually start the conversation. Let's just assume it's with somebody brand new. Let's say I'm at a networking luncheon, or I'm at BNI like you were this morning, Sparks, whatever it might be. Or let's say I've been playing golf, and I'm usually, you're in a business context, say a business networking luncheon, which I'll be at one tomorrow, and there'll be new people there. First of all, I want to know what they do. And I ask them, what do you do? I ask them some personal questions too, but I want to know what their occupation is. Now, why do I ask that? Because once they've told me, and maybe I've responded and talked to it about, what are they going to ask you?
What do you do?
What you do.
Yeah. And that's when you say self-care.
Yes, and that's when I open it up to self-care. I'm a self-care advocate. I show people how to be healthy by choice, not by chance. And they'll look at you, and I said, because you got to agree, almost just like that. I look at, you got to agree If we leave our health to chance, our chances aren't very good. We're going to be healthy.
Yeah, you're going to
Yeah.
die.
No. But no, seriously, Sparks, really,
Yes.
that opens that conversation, and that opens it to where I can then start to direct it, not for the purpose of selling them a product, but for the purpose of making them aware.
Mhm.
Because I'm telling you, they aren't. And I'll use a good example. If I ask, what kind of water do you drink?
Yeah.
What are they going to say? Almost always bottled water. They're probably going to have a bottle of water in their hand, and they think it's a healthy choice. Now, the next step is if they ask, well, is this not a healthy choice? I have a tool. Water Matters. I can send them to the self-care YouTube channel, or I can also send them to the direct link to that video, because they've expressed an interest and asked back. And when I do that, I set a time to follow up with them to talk about what they learned or what they became aware of or any questions they may have.
So the follow-up, a good book to read for the follow-up, in my opinion, is GoPro.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of that. Okay. I see that we're at 7 o'clock, which is not necessarily a magic time.
Okay.
I noticed that there was a question in the chat from Debbie, I believe. So this is you're the man. So do we stop the recording now and move on with Debbie's?
Oh, keep it going. Keep it going.
Keep it going. Okay, Debbie, would you like to type in your question? I assume you're still here. And in fact, if anybody, let's open this up to everybody here, and let's get a few more questions in the queue. So everybody just start typing all at once. Bog us down. They're slow typers, apparently.
So let's while they're doing that, let's address one more question I know I got.
Okay.
And somebody asked, and it was, I really like the concept of self-care, everything else. How does Nikken fit into that? Why Nikken? And that was a very good question. And I'm assuming it came from somebody very new to learning our concepts and learning about Nikken. So let me address that, because I think that was a very valid question. So why Nikken? Why have I been an advocate for Nikken for nearly 19 years? So that, and here's why. Because there isn't another company on the planet that can provide the products, the technologies, or the tools that people can actually be healthier with once they've made that choice to do. I mean, you can find a little bit here, a little bit there, but usually in things that I probably would not advocate for, because I find some issues with many of them. So it's one-stop shopping for self-care, as far as I'm concerned. It's a 40-plus-year-old company. It's a very stable company. I like the leadership of the company. I like the leadership in the field. I like the collaboration that we all have to really do something that can change the world. I mean, if we can reduce chronic disease, which we all know it can be, and we have a solution, and we have the product and technology supplied by Nikken to do that, to offer others, why not? It's a good thing. It's a worthwhile thing to do, in my opinion. So that's my passion. It really is. So.
I have a very interesting question for you, and I know how I would answer this, but I'm going to ask you to answer it. This is from Roger O. And so this is what he writes. So why should I buy Nikken when my healthcare insurance covers everything?
What does your healthcare insurance cover? And how, and what kind of quality of your life are you going to have while they're covering it? So let me answer it this way. Why in the world do we need to fill 4.3 billion prescriptions a year, which really comes from our healthcare companies, all right? Just like that corner wellness center that used to be the corner drugstore, they aren't about your health. They make their money by selling prescription drugs, all right? And the rest of it is advertising to get you to be their person to where you fill that prescription. But anyway, interesting comment. I'll take that more as a comment than I will as a question.
Well, that was actually, Roger O is actually Debbie, but I mean, when you say the word everything, they cover everything. I'm not so sure that your healthcare really covers everything. covers doctor's
It
visit.
covers sickness.
And treatments and treatment. And it doesn't really cover a solution.
No, it's not a solution. That's precisely why we're at this point in history of where we're at.
Correct.
Right now. Precisely. Yeah.
So that question is really at the heart of everything of that self-care.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
Sure it is. Yeah.
Okay. We won't go down there. Okay. So this is, I think, we're going to be the last question because people are starting to have a lot of fun online here. Can someone who has a coil in their head due to an aneurysm, can they use magnets?
Depends on what the coil's made of. Yeah. And again, that's a kind of question for Stump the Doc, really.
Yeah. On Saturday morning.
On Saturday morning, 8 a.m.
Saturday morning.
Great question. Great question for a doctor that's involved with what we're doing. As a physiologist, again, that's something that I really should not answer. No.
Okay, so I think we're done with all the questions. So any ending comments there, Dr. Gary, sir?
I want to thank everybody for sending in your questions. This was fun. If you like this format, let us know. We'll do it again. We'll make it one of the regular part of the Self-Care Awakening series because I'm having a lot of fun. Sparks, you look like you're having a lot of fun.
Oh, you know.
And as long as you guys are learning and having some fun, then it's a good thing to do again. And I want to thank you all that has subscribed to the Self-Care Awakening YouTube channel. We don't have the URL up, but all you have to do is search in YouTube and put in Self-Care Awakening, and it'll take you to that site. And if you haven't subscribed to it yet, please do so, because when we post this or we post any new part of the series, you'll be informed that it's up and that you can use it and share it so that we can do what we all really want to do is, empower people to make healthier choices. And if you haven't looked at the new 4-minute one that Sparks and I did when we spinning the wheel for his health, it's pretty fun. It's pretty engaging, and we had a lot of fun doing it.
It didn't work out well. That's all I got to say.
It didn't work out well for you.
No, it did not.
But when you leave your health a chance, it really doesn't.
So. No. Listen, everybody seems to like this format, Dr. Gary, and everybody says that seems to think that you're a pretty nice guy. So if they're in San Antonio, see me, and we'll set you straight on that one.
I can always count on you, man.
You can always count on me. So everyone, with that, I think we're going to close it down unless you got one last thing you want to say, Doctor.
Nope, I just want to thank you, Sparks. Here,
okay.
It's always a pleasure to be on here with you.
So. Thank you very much. So everybody, good night, everybody. Thank you for attending. Dr. Gary will be back. Well, actually, Dr. Gary will be gone next week, and I will be back with pretty much the same format. And let's push Saturday morning, 8 a.m. at this same BAT channel at 8 a.m. on this Saturday. And will Dr. Ash be there? Or will it be?
No, it's what are we doing? I forget what we're doing Saturday.
Well, but contact Heather.
It'll be at Magnetic Leaders. You'll get an email.
Heather.
Heather will send out an email.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Good night, and thank you very much. And Gary, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Sparks. Everybody have a great evening.